Los Angeles, a city of stars, lights, and endless stories. But not all stories here are meant to shine. Some are buried deep in the shadows, silent, strange, and unsolved. In the heart of downtown stands a building with a dark reputation. At first glance, it's just another aging hotel. But ask anyone familiar with its past, and they'll tell you, something's not right about the Cecil Hotel. It's February 2013. A 21-year-old student from Canada arrives in Los Angeles. Her name is Elisa Lam. She's young, curious, and traveling alone across the West Coast. But her journey doesn't end the way she or anyone expected. In fact, it doesn't really end at all. Elisa was born in Vancouver to immigrant parents from Hong Kong. By all accounts, she was bright, introspective, and a little shy. She loved writing. On her Tumblr blog, she often posted thoughts about her mental health, life, loneliness, and self-exploration. She had dreams, big ones. And despite struggling with bipolar disorder, she wanted to see the world. So she packed her bags and took off, California bound. She visited San Diego, San Francisco, and eventually made her way to Los Angeles. And there she checked into the infamous Cecil Hotel. She didn't know it then, but this building had a history soaked in death, crime, and horror. Originally built in the 1920s, the Cecil was once grand. But by the time Elisa arrived, it had long become a cheap, rundown spot on Skid Row, surrounded by poverty, crime, and drug use. Over the decades, the hotel had been the scene of multiple suicides, murders, and even housed serial killers like Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. And Elisa? She had booked a shared room there. But just a couple of days into her stay, something changed. Hotel staff moved her into a private room, citing odd behavior that made her roommates uncomfortable. What that behavior was, exactly, no one has ever fully explained. Back home in Vancouver, Elisa was in constant contact with her parents. Every day she would check in, but on January 31st, she stopped. No phone call, no email, nothing. Her family panicked. They contacted the LAPD, who visited the hotel and started a search. They looked through her room, questioned staff, checked the hallways, the lobby, the stairwells, and even the rooftop. No sign of her. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. And then, nearly 2 weeks later, the police released something to the public. A piece of evidence. A video, taken from one of the hotel's security cameras. It shows Elisa in the elevator. And what happens in that video? No one has ever been able to fully explain. She walks into the elevator, looks around, and presses multiple buttons, one after the other. She seems confused, nervous. The elevator doors don't close. She peeks out into the hallway, steps back, hides against the wall, then steps out again. She moves her hands in strange, almost unnatural ways, like she's trying to communicate with someone who isn't there. The video is unsettling, and not just because of what Elisa is doing. The way the elevator behaves, how the doors don't close, how the footage appears slightly slowed down, and how no one else enters the frame only adds to the tension. When this video was posted online, it exploded. It went viral on YouTube, Reddit, and news outlets around the world. Everyone had a theory. Some said she was having a psychotic episode. Others believed she was being stalked. Some went even further, suggesting something supernatural was involved. But while the world watched and speculated, one fact remained. Elisa Lam was still missing. Back at the hotel, guests started complaining. The water pressure was low. The water looked strange. Some said it had a funny taste. Maintenance was sent to check the tanks on the roof. And that's when they found her. Elisa's body was floating inside one of the large water tanks, naked, her clothes nearby, her phone and personal items nowhere in sight. No signs of trauma, no drugs in her system, and no one could explain how she got there. The roof was locked and alarmed. The tanks were heavy, difficult to access. The lid was reportedly closed when they found her, and so the mystery only deepened. How did Elisa Lam die? When Elisa Lam's body was discovered inside the rooftop water tank, the shock reverberated far beyond Los Angeles. This wasn't just a missing person case anymore. It was a tragedy wrapped in confusion, horror, and unanswered questions. The tank she was found in was massive, 8 feet tall, with a heavy lid on top. It was elevated off the roof, requiring a ladder to reach it. Getting inside wasn't easy, and yet there she was, naked, her clothes floating beside her. Her cell phone and room key were never found. The biggest question that emerged immediately was, how did she get there? To access the roof, Elisa would have had to bypass a locked, alarmed door. That door was supposed to alert hotel staff if anyone opened it, yet no alarm went off. The alternative route, a fire escape, was technically possible, but extremely dangerous, especially for someone alone. The autopsy was supposed to give answers. Instead, it raised more doubts. The Los Angeles County coroner eventually ruled her death an accidental drowning, with bipolar disorder listed as a significant factor. No alcohol, no illegal drugs, no signs of sexual assault or physical trauma, but there were oddities in the report, key parts left blank, inconclusive findings, a long delay in toxicology results. The official explanation didn't satisfy everyone, and the strange details kept piling up. The elevator video, for example. Online investigators noticed the timestamp had been tampered with. Some frames appeared to be missing. The video speed seemed altered. Was something or someone edited out? Others pointed to Elisa's social media. Her Tumblr blog, which had once been filled with thoughtful posts and poetry, had continued to update even after her death. Scheduled posts? Possibly. But in the eyes of internet sleuths, it felt eerie, like a voice calling from the grave. And then there was the water. Guests had used it, bathed in it, brushed their teeth, even drank it, before realizing something was horribly wrong. Some described the water as discolored. Others said it tasted strange. One guest reported that the shower had low pressure and the water was dark. The idea that a body had been decomposing in the tank while the hotel continued to operate was horrifying. It added another layer of dread to an already disturbing story. Online, the case exploded into full-blown obsession. Forums lit up with theories, some rational, others wildly speculative. Some believed Elisa was murdered, that someone had followed her, drugged her, and covered it up. But there was no surveillance footage of anyone else entering her room or following her to the roof. Others thought it was a mental health crisis, a manic episode triggered by her bipolar disorder that led her to climb into the tank on her own. But that explanation didn't account for the elevator video, or the locked roof, or the tank lid that somehow closed behind her. And then, of course, came the paranormal theories. Some pointed to the hotel's dark history, serial killers, suicides, ghost stories, the idea that the Cecil Hotel itself was cursed, haunted, that Elisa had encountered something that couldn't be explained. There were even theories involving a tuberculosis outbreak that happened around the same time in downtown LA. The test used to detect the outbreak was called Lam Elisa. A coincidence? Maybe. But it fueled conspiracy theories even more. Every detail became a clue. Every inconsistency became evidence. And Elisa Lam became more than a person. She became a symbol of internet mystery culture. A puzzle people felt compelled to solve. Years passed. The Cecil Hotel eventually rebranded. It changed names, tried to leave its past behind. But the building still stands, and the memory of what happened there still lingers. Elisa's story continues to haunt us, not just because it's unsolved, but because it touches something deeper, the fear of the unknown. The idea that someone can vanish in a place surrounded by people, cameras, and locks, and no one can explain how. To this day, we don't know for certain what happened in the final hours of Elisa Lam's life. We have theories, we have footage, we have official reports, but no definitive truth. And maybe that's what makes this story so unforgettable. It reminds us that even in an age of surveillance, science, and constant communication, some things still slip through the cracks. Some mysteries remain mysteries.